Okay.
It's the mouth info. Whatever you on the mouth, the info show. It's the info. On the mouth, the info. Show. Whatever you want to know, come join the mouth, the info show. It's the info, man. You can call them information info. Keeping knowledge all over this nation. We ain't lose the draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. Talk to y'all from the show, right? As it takes over every dope. It's the info. It's the mouth, the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mouth, the info show. It's the info. It's the mouth, the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mouth, the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mouth, the info show. It's the info. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mouth, the info show. It's the info, man. You can call them information info, man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. We ain't lose the draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. We talk to Japanese show gun. As takes all makes an African dogun.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Information Man. I want to thank you all for being with us tonight. And let me just let you know that it's been a long day. It's hot as hell in California right now. For those of you who live west, like myself, very hot. But we're going to try to enjoy ourselves tonight. I have my man. The man of the hour is my brother Ben from BS3 Sports and Music show. Of course, you know me as the Information Man show. This brother has a brilliant show on speaker.com. I'm going to drop his links into the chat room throughout the evening so that you can get more acquainted with him and check out what this brother's doing. He has a great sports program, very good program. I was listening to some of his program tonight, but I've listened to his program since I've joined the speaker system. It's a podcasting radio broadcast. The brother does quality, and I mean quality sports commentary, analysis, and the music, brother. I have to say your music is banging. And so with that said, let me unveil myself to everybody out there. Brother, introduce yourself. Brother Ben, is that the proper way you like to be addressed tonight, brother?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm Ben Sudderth. Don't worry about the last name. It's a little bit difficult to to understand. But yeah, I'm actually from Cali myself. I grew up in the Bay Area. So I lived in Emeryville. It's in between Oakland and Berkeley. I'm in Texas right now. And yeah, I mean, sports is my passion. I really love talking about sports, and I'm a Christian, so I play music that relates to me. So it's clean music, doesn't have a lot of cussing, doesn't, and has a message to it. So that's kind of my main focus of what I do: mix music and sports, and hopefully inspire somebody.
All right, brother. Let me do a little bit of respect where respect is due. I've got folks in the chat room. I want to say to everybody in the chat room, thank you for being with us tonight, taking the time out of your busy schedule. Let's see. We got Brenda Johnson, she's over there in London. So shit's pretty early in the morning for Brenda Johnson right now. Sister Love Key, thank you. Bon is here. Exposing Fake Pro Black is in the house. Brother Morris, Rockwater, Sister Cap, PY2 is in the house. Mr. Woodland, hey, Mr. Woodland, thank you. Mrs. Woodland, thank you for being in the house. Excuse me there, Mrs. Woodland. Thank you for being in the house tonight and supporting the program. We definitely appreciate it. Ronnie, I see you in there. You're saying salute. Appreciate that. Let's see. Shout out to Los Angeles, California by exposing fake pro-black. And we got Sunny C's coming in. Brother Yahweh. Brother Yahweh, if I'm saying your name right, brother, much love to you for being here tonight. And I'm sure other people will be coming in tonight. I know that there are a lot of other streams going on. I know a lot of folks are over listening to Brother Keith Newsom. He always puts down the science, the biology, the black biology, the dark matter consciousness out there. And I know folks that more folks will come on in and enjoy the program. What we're going to do tonight is a little bit different. We're going to get into sports talk, but we're going to do it from a point of view of social consciousness. We're going to get into what does it mean to be a black athlete in today's time? What is the responsibilities of black athletes to the black community if they do have any responsibility? We're going to talk about the social dynamics of being a black athlete. We're going to probably talk about, I'm going to pick Brother Ben's mind as to how he thinks this whole off season with the NBA is gonna turn out in terms of where players are gonna go, what seems to be the barometer. I know Brother Cousins has signed with the Warriors, and Brother Ben believes that may be another game changer for the Warriors to set them up for another championship possibly, because this brother is. For a big man, he's multi-dimensional. He can go. Brother Ben, would you say that Brother Boogie Cousin, I'm not saying his name correctly. Do you feel he's a multi-dimensional big man?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He can do some of everything. He's flexible as far as he can shoot threes, he can do the down low game. And he's quick, so he's not going to be one of those guys that's a slow big man. He can play any position really on the floor and bring the ball down the floor. And I think he's talented too. He's the new prototypical big man. You can't just be a guy that backs somebody down low. You really have to be a guy that can do some of everything. And that's the direction the NBA is going right now.
Wow, brother, I got to give you a clap for that. All right, we got another legend in the chat room who you know very well, and that's Brother Big L. Big
L in the building.
Big L's in the building. You know, Big L has been supporting me, Brother Ben, my brother of BS3, sports and music. He's been following me, brother, since I had nobody in the chat room when it was crickets. He's been very supportive. The brother's #1 in my book. So, Brother Big L, I hope that you enjoyed tonight's program. So, where can I begin, brother? We've been kind of corresponding off and on, but I've been a fan of you from afar, from first time I cracked open my podcasting system and start going through all the live shows that are out there. There's a lot of shows in the speaker system. And I found you on there, listened to you. I love your commentary, your analysis. You got the great radio voice, brother. Nice deep sound. Fantastic. And what can I say, brother? You impressed me. You're very fair and balanced way you give your analysis, but you make a hell of a lot of sense. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, brother. You make a lot of the folks that I listen to on speaker, including you, and I know that the Two Lie Stews have a program too that I listen to, and you make more sense than some of these knuckleheads on ESPN and what's that other one, Fox. All this Fox.
Yeah.
Make a lot more sense than some of these knuckleheads on there. I'll be honest with you. Most of the brothers that I listen to who do sports either in speaker, and some of the brothers that I hear doing sports on YouTube, such as Underrated Darkness, and there's a brother named Sheep State Sleep TV who gives great analysis on sports And then there's my man, if you like boxing, Brother Ben, there's a brother named Marlowe's Corner on YouTube. I subscribe to his channel. We'll be having him on in the whole gang tomorrow on Friday. These guys are giving great analysis, and they're a hell of a lot more sound and sane than this corporate crap that we get on television. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's the game now is that let's bring up a topic and let's force one person to pick one side, force the other person to pick the other side, and argue about it. And they can honestly probably agree to it, but they more so want to just have people argue, and they only pick most of the time they only pick one side of the story, which is the incorrect side most of the time is what they usually end up picking, and they don't really end up telling the whole story. And I think that's a part of what the media is. That's ESPN and Fox Sports. You really have to listen to podcasts to really be on top of what's really going on, in my opinion.
What is your opinion? Now, folks in the chat room will have what's your opinion of Stephen A. Smith? A lot of black folks feel that he might be, tap dancing and buck dancing. And I have something that I always play for everybody out there that they love to hear. Listen to this one, brother. Make sure my volumes are correct. Listen to this one.
Let this be a lesson that black folks need to be codified. We've got to stop singing, buck dancing, boot licking, or cornbread.
Give me your honest thoughts about Stephen A. Smith. Sometimes I think he sensationalizes shit too. Oh, let me watch my mouth tonight. I think Stephen A. Smith sensationalizes stuff a little bit too much, brother. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think his main point is just to say something so loud until you think it makes sense. That's his whole MO. I'm going to say something so loud it may not really make sense. I'm going to use a lot of big words. And I think Stephen A., some of the stuff he says, I think he is sound, but a lot of it is just loud noise. And if you say something loud enough, people believe you and think that it's correct and it's fact. A lot of times it's not.
Let me give a shout out. You gave a great statement, brother. Let me give a shout out to someone that I know you know. He's in the speaker chat room right now. It's DG States from South Central.
Oh yeah, the greatest from South Central.
From South Central. The greatest from South Central. Let me read that correct. The greatest from South Central, brother. Welcome. Sorry for the mispronunciation of your name, but I got it correct now. I'm getting a little blurry here. Contact issues. But welcome, brother, to the program, and I hope you're hearing well. If you are hearing the broadcast well, just write something in the chat room to let us know that you can hear A-OK. Everything is coming through just appropriately. Yeah, I think Stephen A. Smith is very compromised. On the other hand, I'm a big fan of my man Sterling Sharp.
Yes.
I think because of the fact that I feel he gives a much more honest, down-to-earth analysis.
I agree with you. I love Sterling Sharp. He tells you really what it is. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He doesn't make it sound great for TV. He just really tells you straight up. And I appreciate the opportunity that he has to really to speak his mind and for it to not be shut down or for people to make him quiet. And even with his co-host, you don't see that many sound clips from his co-host. You see more sound clips from Shannon Sharp because what he's saying is the real deal, and he'll call you out too. He called out Vic that came on there. He'll call you out because he wants to get the truth across. I appreciate that about him.
Yeah, I do too. So I'm a big fan. He tells it like it is. He puts it where the goats could get it, and that's really what we need, brother. But that's why I brought that point up, because that's what I like about your program, your show, how you give your analysis to what's going on in sports today in the world, because you're very honest, you're very frank, you tell it like it is, you don't sensationalize, which is what you get a lot of times when you look at sports programs on television these days. Too much of showboating and not really. I guess everybody's got to put on a show. I guess they need ratings, but I like what you're about, brother. And with that said, I need you to give the family listening, everybody listening, your story, brother. What's your background? I know you said you're from the Bay Area, but what got you to the point? What was the light that turned on in your life that said to you, sports is my passion? Were you an athlete in high school yourself? Give us a little bit of a background in that area.
Definitely. So I grew up playing sports. Baseball was my sport of choice. So I loved playing that growing up. Played basketball in high school. Didn't make it to varsity. I was on JV, so I'm not gonna lie and say I was like balling out and superstar or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think sports has always been a passion for me. It was gonna be to play sports, and I had dreams of playing pro baseball or basketball or whatever. Didn't necessarily end up working out, but I went on a friend's podcast one day. Said, "Hey, why don't you come on? We want to talk North Carolina sports." And I'm a big fan of North Carolina sports. So I came on there and I loved it. And I'm thinking like, man, I could really do this. People have been telling me my whole life, you got a voice in radio. You have a voice for radio. You should do this. It was either that or you're gonna be a pastor, one or the other. So I chose the sports route, and it's been fun. And so I went on my friend's podcast, and he was like, "You should start your own." And I'm thinking like, I don't know if I could talk for that long. I don't know if I could really put together a full show. And did that first show, and from there on, I've been doing it for about 2 years now. And I'm really just looking to hopefully have it continue to grow into something major, continue to grow and continue to build the BS3 sports brand.
Wow. What led you? How did you first discover Speaker? And how did you come up with your concept? And discover all the platforms that you're on.
Yeah, so with Spreaker, I had a friend. He has a show actually in Atlanta. It's called the 3-Point Conversion. It's on 1100 a.m. in Atlanta. But he uses Spreaker because before I was using a different program. It really wasn't working that great. The sound wasn't that great. Couldn't really share it out like what you do on Spreaker. And with Spreaker, you can share it to every single platform. So as soon as that show's over with, it'll automatically go to YouTube. It'll automatically go to SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. So every area that you want it to go to, they're even doing Spotify now and iHeartRadio. So whenever you finish that episode, it immediately goes to all those platforms. So I found Spreaker. On Spreaker, I found XWAT Affiliates, which Big L's a part of, 2 Live Stews, which is also Doug Stewart and Ryan Stewart. They're the 2 Live Stews. So I found so many different avenues just through starting that podcast on Spreaker, and it's a great program to use. We've been using it, and I don't really see myself going anywhere else, especially with the live interaction. It's nothing like doing a live show. You have people interacting. You can also have people call in. I have some people call in. But the concept of the show is basically to just have a pure sports talk show that's quality. Like my main goal was to just really have good quality guests, good quality sound, make sure it sounds good, make sure people that are listening to it understand, and that it's not biased either way. But I'm going to tell you what the real truth is about whatever the situation is, and just be straight up and have a good quality show. That was my main focus.
I have to admit to you, brother, that it's a very good quality show, brother. Like I said, I was listening to your broadcast, a little bit about what you were talking about, Carmelo Anthony, what move he's going to make, what team he fits with best. And I have to say that it was a professional broadcast. The sound was clear. You sounded great. You sounded like $100. The music was 100% on point. Can't say it anymore, brother. It was fantastic. I gotta ask you a question. You know that Black people, we've come a hard ways over the mountain. We know that sports was one of the avenues that sort of was sort of the avenue that they used to bridge the gap racially. Okay, we know that there was segregation in football. We definitely know about the segregation in baseball. I once read a book called Only the Ball Was White. An excellent book about the Negro Leagues and all the goings on at that time. Satchel Paige, Cool Papa Bell, Josh Gibson, all the top brothers. And when you look at where we've come from that time, when you hear about a Bill Russell having boo-boo and crap smeared all over his house torn up when he was in Boston. They treated him horrible in Boston, although he won championships for them. But what these athletes had in common at that time is they stood up for social issues. You could expect them to stand up for Black people. Kareem was courageous in his support of Jim Brown got involved in the protest around the issues around Muhammad Ali deciding that he was not going to go to Vietnam. Conscientious dejected he was, right? He did not want to go to Vietnam. So you had Jim Brown, Bill Russell, and all these athletes that rallied around him and really took a stand. Now, I don't know what's happened to Jim Brown lately since he went and met with Donald Trump and said that he was there to get some help for the Black community. And last time I checked, brother, let's see, Steve Harvey and
Kanye
the Third and Kanye West. Last time I checked, it's like the Charlie Brown show on Halloween. They didn't get anything but rocks in their bag, giving them anything. Then you had all those Black folks that were the presidents of HBCUs that went over to the White House, thought they were going to get some money and proceeds. And what happened? Donald Trump simply used them as a photo op. Brother, do you believe that the Black athlete today, it's a two-part question. Do you believe that the Black athlete today have the same activism in them as Black athletes in the past? And do you believe that it's their job, in a sense, to be actively involved in what's happening in the Black community?
So to answer the first, I think there are some players, but no, not all of them. One prime example I can give for one is LeBron. I mean, people talk about his play and they talk about whatever he does on the court, but this guy is not afraid to stand up for whatever the issues are. He's not afraid to say whatever it is. I think some guys, when they make it, it's about the money, and whatever messes up their money, they're not going to be willing to step over that line to step up for social issues. I do believe that some of them do, and I do think it is their responsibility, especially if they come from that area and they know exactly what people go through, what people experience.
Yes.
Then they should say, look, I made it and I'm here right now, but you have all of my family over here who's still going through all these issues. I got cousins, I got relatives, I got my friends of people getting shot in the street. And I think it is their responsibility to say something, because they've either come from it or they know someone that's come from it. And I think basketball is a great avenue for that. NBA specifically is a great avenue for that. The commissioner is a partner with the players. It's not as if they're owning the players. The commissioner works with them. He's also okay with them addressing issues on the court and doing whatever it is to help bring awareness. The NFL is a completely different story. The NFL is like, you are our owner. We own you, and you will either do what we say or you will leave. And now they have this with the kneeling of the anthem, which I'm sure some people have heard. That now what it's saying is that either you kneel, either you stay in the locker room, or you come out on the field and you must stand. And to me, that's just disrespect to what all the Black players, what they were kneeling for, what Kaepernick was kneeling for. And I think that's not gonna last long. And the NFL players are gonna go on strike. I think it's necessary that they do, because if you don't make a point then this will continue to go on. You'll continue to get disrespected. The issues will continue to not be looked at as something valid or important to those owners.
What do you say to some people? I did a video about this, who would say that the NFL as well as the NBA is similar to a plantation.
Honestly, it is something like that, because you have owners. You have owners that own the basketball team or own the football team. On that team, there's players, and you can really put it that way, that they do own them. And if they step out of line, the owner or the GM can say, "We don't want you anymore," or they'll trade you to a team, or whatever it may be. So you can definitely put that, use that comparison. But I think players like LeBron and other players, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, they all did it at the ESPYs, where they stood up and talked about some of the issues that are going on. I think if they use that platform, though, to really flip it around and point it at issues that are going on, I really think they're making a difference, and they're trying to draw some attention to what's going on.
Okay. What do you say? Let's go back. Let's go old fashioned here, because Charles Barkley did a commercial back in the day where he said that I am not a role model. Remember that commercial?
Yes.
Controversial commercial, got a lot of attention. He was the one that kind of came out and said that in a commercial, that he is not a role model. What is your opinions on athletes being a role model, either yay or nay to it? Let's be honest about it. What is your opinion?
They're role models, honestly, whether they like it or not. There's going to be kids, even adults that never had a parent in their life. They're going to see these people as role models. So for him to say I'm not a role model, that's his opinion. But you are a role model, because kids look up to you. People look up to you that are trying to make it, or they have a dream or something that they want to do. And I think that you're a role model whether you like it or not. That's just like rappers. They say, well, don't look at me as a role model. You're still a role model. Whether you like it or not, you don't agree with it or not, you are a role model, because people see you. And a lot of families, a lot of people don't have both parents, or they have one parent. They're going to look at you as someone like, wow, I should take this person's opinion as truth, even though sometimes it's not true.
Okay. Wow. Brother, what do you think is the state of the black athlete as it is today? We got, let's say, for example, LeBron James, who jumped right out of high school into the NBA, and you had a lot of young brothers that jumped into the NBA when they had it down to 18 years old. And then they changed the age to, what was it? What is it now, brother? 22 years old or 21?
So now you have to be 2 years removed. Well, you have to be 1 year removed from high school. So either you have to go to college for 1 year, or you can go overseas and play for a year. But basically, you have to be 1 year removed from high school.
Okay, let me ask you this question. When all that went down, I always thought that it was biased from a racial point of view, because when you look at all the other sports, I'm a big soccer fan. You can see I've got the Barcelona jersey on here. But when you look at soccer, they have kids playing soccer as young as 14 and 15 years old, 16 years old. They got them in these clubs, these academies, where they may have opportunity to be moved up the ranks and go pro. Hell, you got guys playing in world soccer that are 16, 17 years old, playing on pro teams. And soccer, like no other sports, they play 2 seasons. They have their regular domestic season. They have their international season. They do what they call Champions League, where they'll play against the best teams in the world. They seed them up. And no one seems to be concerned about saying, hey, you can't have these young guys playing out here. What about their education? It seems to be an issue when it comes to paying athletes. When it comes to paying athletes, that's one thing. But when it comes to college football having a real playoff system, they'll always say, oh, we're concerned about them having their academics, when in fact, academics in college football or in general for black athletes in college have been not so great because they tend to keep them busy playing sports all year. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I feel there's bias. When you look at hockey, they're paying these young men, and they're not talking about how young they are. But when it comes to the black athlete who comes from high school into college, then they're saying they don't want to pay them any money, even though they're generating millions of dollars for these universities. Then when these young men are saying, hey, I come from a poor family or a poor background, and I want to help my family out economically, that's why I got a hardship. I've got to leave school. And now they tell you, oh, you can't leave school until this time. Now, when you look at guys in college, in high school, I mean, in most high schools, if let's, for example, if I was in high school and I was 17 years old or 18 years old coming out of high school, and I had a talent for, let's say, computer graphics or a talent for art or whatever my talent is, I could get paid for that at 17 years old if I've got the talent. But it seems with sports, for some reason, there seems to be this artificial restriction about letting black young men jump from high school to the pros. Now, I know there's been disaster stories like Kwame Brown. He didn't turn out to be what they thought he was going to be. That was a bad pickup by Michael Jordan when he drafted him. But it seems to be, in my mind, a bias. And I think that bias has to do with the fact that they don't want to see all these young men becoming millionaires or whatever we call it today. All these black kids becoming instantly rich, because they're not wealthy, they're just rich. What are your thoughts about that? I said a mouthful.
Yeah, no, I think we're talking about the plantation as far as it is with professional sports. The slave owner mentality is in college sports 100%. These kids don't make anything. They get a stipend probably monthly or something. They really don't get anything, but they expect these guys to play hard and to basically make the school money. And the schools make, I'm gonna say billions. I'm not even gonna say millions. If you look at Alabama, they probably make billions of dollars a year. So it is a bias, because in all the other sports, they can go in at 14. You got a kid right now playing for France in the World Cup that's 19 years old. This kid's a millionaire already.
Oh, I've been following that kid.
Mbappe.
He played at Monaco. And then I think France paid a lot of money to get this kid. At 16, he's been on the world stage, and he's playing with grown men, and he's playing very well. But you notice in that, maybe it's a cultural thing, because in Europe, they don't get caught up into this. He's only a kid. They look at it as a game, and that if the kid can play, because in soccer, you have to earn your stripes. So for Mbappe to be playing where he is, it's because he proved that he could play. And he's being, and I'm pretty sure they got him on a low contract. And now he made a big contract when he signed with PSG. That's a French soccer team. For those of you in the chat room listening who may not be aware of what we're talking about right now on the world stage. We got the World Cup. You got all these different football teams, or what they call soccer teams in the world. And PSG is a French soccer team that plays in Paris, one of the top teams in Paris. So this young man's doing well. He's taken the nation by storm in the World Cup. And you never hear anybody saying anything about, hey, he's too young to be out there playing with the men.
Yeah. I mean, if these kids can play, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where, at what stage they're playing in. And you could say all of these, like you said, the Kwame Browns of the world, or the, I can't even think of that many, because it's really not, honestly, it's really not that many of bad stories that have happened. You have more Kobe's, you really have more of these other kids. Dwight Howard, more than you have all of these other kids. But this is what NCAA is getting ready to do, possibly in basketball. What they're saying now is that they're trying to propose that they will allow players to come from high school to the NBA. But the caveat is they have to go through a training program or something for people to see, I guess, a committee or team to see if they're going to be ready to handle the NBA stage, which, I mean, it's kind of on the table, but it's not something that's actually, I think, proposed to actually happen yet. But I think if they're ready, let them go. And there is one coach in NCAA that I do respect.
Okay.
That's Coach K, and that's also Coach Calipari. If you know Coach Calipari, anybody that came to him that said, I'm only gonna be here 1 year, he would tell them, that's fine. I'm gonna tell you exactly what you need to do. I'm gonna get you ready, and I'm gonna make sure that you're gonna be ready to go after 1 year. So they started calling them the one and done guys, one and done boys, because he only had kids that were there for 1 year. But all of those kids, majority of them, they were there for 1 year. When they got to the NBA, they were ready. Boogie Cousins is in that. Anthony Davis is in that. All of these guys are in the NBA. They're successful. John Wall is with that. Now you have Duke doing the same thing. There's plenty of players that are only there 1 year. And like you said, if they have a hardship in their family, if it's something that they need, the money, if you had an opportunity to get this money and to do it legally, not illegally, and to help your family out for the rest of their lives, I think that you should take that opportunity, because you don't know what situation people are in. You know what? There's been kids that are in college where they're flat broke. Their parents don't have money. They don't have anything, and they're barely allowing their son or their son to go to school. He's on a scholarship. So I respect and I appreciate Big L, because he came in my chat room a couple of shows ago and he really comparing like what you're saying. Everywhere else around the world, in so many different avenues, you can go and play professionally immediately whenever you're ready. Whenever people feel like you're ready. If you're 14 years old, you can play professional in soccer if they feel like you're ready.
Yes. One of the things that disturbs me is how the black athlete is treated in college sports and sports in general. Now, let me bring you back, brother. You probably remember. We remember this. Remember the movie Hoop Dreams?
Yeah, definitely.
The documentary where you had, God, I wish I remember the names of the two young men. You had one young man who came from the streets of Chicago, the projects, where Isaiah Thomas grew up. And then you had the other young man who both of them came from the streets of Chicago, the housing project area. But one brother who they thought was a little bit better athlete, he got the scholarship to play at the private, a private high school institution that Isaiah Thomas played for, a private school, basically.
Right.
Private school. The other brother who played in the same playgrounds as the other brother, he wasn't good enough to get into the school. He wanted to play at that school. He ended up going to the city school.
Right.
And the brother who went to what were their names? God.
Yeah, I know I know the movie you're talking. I think one of them, his name was
William Gates.
Yeah,
William Gates. That's right. Let me. So brother Gates went to the private school. He was, quote unquote, the better athlete. He kept trying to get upstate to play in the high school national championship in Chicago. Their state championship. They called it getting upstate. He had the skills. He was the one that's going to get the scholarships. He was the player, and they grinded that young man to the point that he messed his knee up. And you notice how they treated him like he was yesterday's lunch meat. The minute he started having problems with himself physically, and he could not perform to their liking. That's what I mean by a plantation system that we have in sports today. So they worked Brother Gates, and then he was playing on that leg when he really should have not been. He went through a rehabilitation, and he just never was the same player as he was. The other young man was Arthur. He ended up going to the city school, the school that had all the poor resources, no money, but his team made it to the state championship and actually beat Brother Gates' team. But basically, I'm bringing it up because that was a movie, that documentary that followed these young kids. They all had a hoop dream to play in the NBA. And it basically showed you how these kids are used. They're used like cattle. They're prodded over. How the schools, if you can play good basketball, they want you. And I think the young man who ended up going to the city school, which was after, he got booted out of the private school because his family could no longer pay the tuition. And he was playing JVs, and they didn't think that he was going to be a good player. Where the other young man, William Gates, was a great player. And even though he had financial problems, they were willing to do what? Take care of his financial problems because he could help the team. No way. That showed me right there in a nutshell. And that came out in the 80s, I believe, maybe the early 90s.
Yeah, I was in high school, I think, when that came out. That was in the 90s, yeah.
Okay, I was in college, I think, at that time when that came out. And so what you have is that it showed me clear as day that they didn't give a damn about either one of these kids. Long as you can play basketball. If one kid they didn't think was going to be good, so they said, goodbye, we're not going to help your family out with your tuition here. The other kid had the skills. They helped him out. And as soon as he messed up his knees, the coach, all of them treated him just like he was on a plantation. Okay, get me a new boy. Okay, get me a new slave. This one is damaged good. Get him out of here.
Right, and I got another example for you. People don't know LeBron. When LeBron was in high school, there was another kid. His name was Lenny. I think his name was Lenny, not Lenny Williams, but it was Lenny Jones or something like that. LeBron was the best player in that high school, but this kid Lenny was really close in the way that in the skills and everything. Lenny ended up going in the direction where he got money. Reportedly, he got money from an agent. He ended up going to the Pro-Am and everything. He played against LeBron in the summer league. He never made it. You don't even know who this kid is anymore because he's not even playing basketball. Mm-hmm. You see where LeBron is. Where LeBron was healthy, LeBron went straight from high school to the pros. But to your point, that's correct. If you're not able to play anymore, they can care less what happens to you. That a prime example is in the NFL. This concussion issue. If you get a concussion and you can't play anymore, they're like, okay, fine, go over there. You're done. We're not gonna worry about you. Then the NFL end up getting a lawsuit. Now there's CTE, which happens later on down the road. So there's a lot of things that are being opened up in sports. But to your example, you're correct. And then even to go another step further, look at quarterbacks who white quarterbacks. You look at Chad. There's a guy named Chad Kelly. This kid has went from school to school to school, done numerous negative things, and he's on a team. He's on the Denver Broncos. I don't know if he's gonna ever actually play. He's on the Denver Broncos playing. You compare that to Lamar Jackson, who never got in trouble at all, and people are dogging him as if he's a horrible quarterback. This kid is the next coming of Michael Vick, and he gets less respect than all these other quarterbacks that have been drafted. So it is a matter of color in a lot of these situations too, where it's more like we'll give this white kid all these different opportunities, even though this black kid over here who's clearly better. Like if someone says this Lamar Jackson is not one of the best quarterbacks, or if the best quarterback in this previous draft, you got to be crazy. All you got to do is watch the tape. You can see that very clearly. So that to that point, I think take it a step further. There's a difference. There's clearly a difference.
Brother, this is what I'm going to do right now. Usually my show is fan-driven. Everybody in the chat room has got questions. I'm going to fill some questions for you, brother. So bear with me here. We got Sister Brenda Johnson straight from London. She said, can you ask the brother, why won't the NFL players go on a one-day strike?
So I believe that they won't really clearly because of the money. If they go on a strike, they know that they're not going to get paid. I do believe that they are organizing something, and they also have, so the players sign an agreement basically with the owners, saying that we're gonna, until this particular period, we're gonna agree to these rules. And the NFL players really got gypped on whatever the agreement that they signed. They got gypped on it, and now they're paying the consequences of it. But I do think they are going to go on a strike. It's probably not going to be until 2021 when that agreement's up. But there are players talking right now about striking. It's a matter if they're actually going to do it. But it really comes down to their money. I mean, that money rules, like the song, money rules everything around you.
Let me just say this, brother. You're right. Let me remind everybody in the chat room the difference between the NBA and the NFL is that in the NBA, contracts are guaranteed. In the NFL, just because a guy signs a big, let's say, for example, Michael Vick, he signed the largest contract, I think, at one point in history. He was the first $100 million athlete or quarterback in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe am I wrong or right, brother Ben?
I think you're right. Yes.
Okay. However, when he signed that, that was prior to him having his dog fighting incident. So therefore, in the NFL, when they cut you, waive you as they call it, you do something that's a detriment to the team in terms of your violating your contract, they could turn around and give you won't see all that money. Most NFL players don't see all the money that's in their contract. What they see, they get their bonus money. And I know that ESPN did a story on First Takes, or well, not First Takes, 30 for 30, about why so many athletes, particularly black athletes, end up going broke. And so in the NBA, they have guaranteed contracts. So if you don't have guaranteed contracts, the owners have a lot more leverage over you, on top of the fact that let's be honest, a lot of our black athletes are taking care of a lot of people. They're taking care of mama, daddy, cousin, Pookie, Ray, Johnny, Porky Pig, if you can catch the pig. They're taking care of their homeboy that they grew up with, Johnny, Davis, Tyrone. They've got a entourage. They're paying for drinks at the club. They're making it rain with their money. They're also going into bogus investments, investing in car washes and chicken joints, strip clubs and everything that doesn't make any damn sense. And they end up being like, what? No money. But the NBA athletes, they have their problems too, but their contracts are guaranteed. Plus they have a much better union than the NFL. So they're able to really put their feet in the ground a little bit more. What are your thoughts about that, brother? As I'm going to get ready, as you answer this question, I'm going to field another question as you finish answering this question.
You're 100% right. It's not guaranteed. So when they sign a contract, and there was a question that came across, I'm maybe kind of jumping ahead, but basically it's the labor agreement. That's what the agreement is. That's what the contract that the players sign in agreement with the owners. But back to what I was just saying, that's correct. It's not guaranteed. So if you get hurt, when you sign a contract, normally when it goes across your timeline, it'll say blah 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 signs a 4-year, $12 million deal. In parentheses next to that, it's going to say in which $5 million or whatever that is guaranteed, which is in signing bonus, which is in incentives, which is in a lot of those things. And NFL players really don't have a foot in the game, which is a disappointment for them. But they can clearly strike if they want to. Ultimately, that's their choice. Ultimately, like you said, majority of the time they do need the money. It all depends on how they're managing the money too. That has to start at the very beginning. That's just in life, period. You got to manage your money because you got to stash up for a rainy day if something happens. Now there is a situation. Aaron Rodgers, who's a quarterback of the Packers, he is now coming up on a contract extension or possible new contract, and he may be the first player. Actually, Kirk Cousins, as far as I understand, is the first player that's had his whole contract guaranteed. Now Aaron Rodgers may be the next one. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think there is going to start a trend where these players are going to start getting paid guaranteed money, and that I think is going to continue to change everything. but they have to be like a collective front. It can't be like some players over here want to do it and some players over here don't want to do it, because then you look weak. You got to come as a unified group to come against this bogus agreement and labor agreement that these NFL players have to deal with, which ultimately the finger points directly at them. They're the ones that agreed to it and signed it. So it's their decision.
Okay, let me fill the question. There was a brother in the chat room that goes by the name of Illuminati One. He says, aren't the contracts top heavy in the beginning? I think he says, let me see. Yeah, he says, aren't the contracts top heavy in the beginning of the deal? That's his question.
Some of them are, some of them aren't. I'm in Dallas, so I get a lot of news on the Cowboys, and a lot of times, yes, it may be top heavy, and sometimes they push the money out towards the end because they don't expect the player to play that long, and he may end up tiring or get hurt, or they trust that the player will stay on that team for that amount of time. So it really kind of depends. Sometimes it is top heavy. A lot of times, if you are one of those players that have had PED issues that have been suspended, it's incentive laden, which means your base may be $1 million. You may get a signing bonus of 50,000 or whatever. I'm kind of making up numbers, and then a lot of your money that you're going to get is incentive laden, which means if you get a certain amount of sacks, if you play a certain amount of games, if you do a certain amount of things, then you get paid more money. So it kind of really depends on the player. But the money is it's fluid, where you can. These people that work for these teams are some of the smartest money people. So they may do it front heavy, back heavy, middle, whatever benefits the team ultimately is what they're going to assign that person to.
Okay. Wow. Let me fill for some more questions. I do have some exciting questions to ask you as the show goes on, brother, but let me try to fill some questions in here. Let me see. Brenda Johnson says, that's all that the NFL players need to do. But a black player will be like, I'm not striking for nobody. Big L says Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback. Fact? What's your question? What's your answer to that? He says Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback. You mean coming out of the draft this year, right?
Yeah. Fact. That's all fact. I did a comparison between all the quarterbacks that were drafted above Lamar Jackson. And I picked every one of them apart because they do not compare to Lamar Jackson. The speed, the agility, the throwing power. Michael Vick was a game changer when he came into the NFL. Lamar Jackson's going to be the same way. All of these other quarterbacks who are supposedly, quote unquote, coming from UFC, coming from some certain schools, they're also being hyped up because they're white. I mean, that's just a plain and honest truth. But Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback, hands down, in this draft. I agree with what Big L said.
All right, let me give a shout out to my main man, Real Aaron Collins, Brenda Johnson. We got some folks that are hanging strong in there. Brother Yahweh. Okay, Brother Yahweh says I would quit if I was them. This is what people don't understand, though. It's easy for us to say that they should quit and do this and that. Got to remember, a lot of these young brothers come out of high school. They come into college. Some of them come from poor backgrounds, and they've taken care of a lot of family members. Now, let me give you a story, and you're going to help me with this, brother, because you know your sports better than me in some cases, because you this is what you do, and I know a little bit. I'm a little old school, so I know some things too. But remember the brother who played for Alabama? Who was that running back that was drafted by? I think it was who was he drafted? Oh, he was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, and then ended up being moved to the Indianapolis Colts. He played on the national team in Alabama. He turned out.
Oh, yes. Trent Richardson.
Trent Richardson. Thank you, God. Thank you. See, I knew you would know this. Trent Richardson is a case study. Remember, he didn't live up to. No, he went to the Cleveland Browns. That's right. First,
yes.
Jim Brown, who whatever I think about him now, he still knows his football. Jim Brown said, I don't think this young man is the real deal. And I think Trent Richardson didn't take lightly to what Jim Brown said, but it turned out that Jim Brown might have been telling the truth, might have known what he was talking about. Okay, so then things didn't work out for him as a feature back in Cleveland. So he got sent to the Indianapolis Colts. And he was having some problems there with his game. I don't know, injuries and all this sort of things. And now he's out of the league. And guess what? This is a young man who was drafted he was drafted in the first round, got bonus money, made pretty good money in the beginning. But guess what happened to him? His family ripped him off of all of his money. Remember that?
Right, exactly.
Did a 30 for 30. And he said that his uncles, he said he's broke because of his family, because he was doing everything for his family. He would have people saying, hey, I need to get my teeth fixed. I need a dental plan, baby. I need weave. I need this. I need that. Johnny needs brand new shoes. Come on, man, help us out. And so he was so generous. And as a result, he even went into some business dealing with an uncle or some family members. And his own family screwed him over with bad investments and deals. His own freaking family.
Yeah, and you're right. You're 100% right, and that even leads to a lot. And a lot of these players, they're the first ones to make it in their family. And yes, people are going to come at them with handouts, with their handout wanting something. Even those people like, hey, you remember we went to high school together? Remember that one time I sat at the lunch table with you and we shared a juice box? All those people could be asking for money too. And unfortunately, that is kind of the way that it goes when a lot of these kids make it. A lot of these young men make it to the NFL. And I think there is a class being taught supposedly when they get drafted that says what you do, kind of teaching them on how to handle your money and teaching them that you cannot give your money to every single person, even family, because family is going to look out for themselves too, really, at the end of the day, especially all the cousins and aunties and all that, like you were saying. So it really comes down to how you manage your money and really how you handle those situations. You got to set boundaries. I think that's really what it ends up coming down to. Even though it's hard, you got to do it.
Wow. Let me give a shout out to Angry Black Man. And we have Rare Beauty in the speaker.com chat room. Welcome for being here. They're checking us out. They're checking you out, brother, and hearing what you're saying. And let's see. Let me see what I'm getting in the chat room. And we got Big L in there, too. He's in both chat rooms. Okay, we got music with Rare Beauty. She says, one love. Author, I agree with what the public lead schools, Marshall Williams Gates played at St. Joseph's. It was Marshall Gates. That's right. He's given the name of the two young brothers that I was talking about.
Arthur A.G. Yeah,
Arthur A.G. and the other brother was Brother Gates. That's right. Arthur A.G. was the one who ended up winning the national high school championship. He was the brother that the school, the St. Thomas or whatever the hell it was, St. Joseph's or whatever it was, they booted him out. His family was having financial problems. He had a father that was sort of estranged from the family off and on. The mother got her nursing, her CNA's license. He came from a poor family. And both these young men, just so you know, they're not in the NBA, but both of them finished and got their college degrees, and they're doing fine for themselves as far as I know right now. They're doing fine. They had a hoop dream, and I had a hoop dream too. I thought I was going to the NBA. But let me throw some more questions. I'm going to look at both chat rooms simultaneously. Let's see. I'm going to. Okay. Yeah, I know the broadcast might sound a little bit better on YouTube. For those of you in here, I'm going to put my YouTube in there. I've got to do something about that sound. But let me. If those of you in the chat room of the speaker, if you want a little bit better sound, because I'm having some problems with the system right now, you can always go listen to the YouTube version of this. All you gotta do is go on YouTube and look, and all you gotta do is go Information Man Show. And you guys already know this because it's the same title of my podcasting. Just go ahead and do that if you like, and check us out there if the sound's a little bit better there. And I appreciate your support as well. I thank you for your support. So let me go fill some more questions here. Let's see. Brother DeMarcus Gates says, I always said that the NFL players should strike if they want to be heard and make a major statement. Interesting. Interesting. So let me ask you something, brother. How did the NBA union get so strong? I know the baseball has a pretty strong union, right, in comparison to the NFL, and the NBA has a strong union. I don't understand. And maybe I already answered my own question because they don't have guaranteed contracts. But why is it that the NFL players keep giving up concessions to the owner, where you see the NBA is so strong with their union?
I think part of it is the leadership in the NFLPA. I think that's a part of it, that they have conceded to whatever they think was gonna get the deal signed. And I think a lot of issues have happened since they signed that player agreement. Concussions have been more and more prevalent. Also, the movie Concussion came out with Will Smith and CTE. So there's a lot of things that have happened. So when they signed that deal, I think they thought it was great. Also, the bottom line is NFL is probably one of the dangerous sports, if not the dangerous sport. You could literally die on the field. You could literally get paralyzed on the field if you're hit wrong. There's multiple injuries that are a lot more prevalent. And in the NBA, I think they have great leadership. I think they have people that are able to come to the table and really come up with a great agreement. And I think the commissioners are also better, I think, in my opinion, and have been better in the NBA. And they're able to come to the table with some real legitimate agreements. And I think NFL it's harder because there's so many things, like I said, that have come out as of late that now has changed completely. It's changing the game of the NFL. I think they're going to have to get it worked out, or we are going to see a strike. We are going to see probably some replacement players. It's probably really going to get bad in the next couple of years, in my opinion, in the NFL, because they cannot continue to go along with this and be okay with the agreement that they have. But I think it starts with the leadership of the NFLPA, and whatever the agreement that they thought was good enough was obviously not good enough. And now they're, like I said earlier, facing the consequences.
Okay, brother, let me ask you, it's going to be another football related question. With all the research that's come out over the years about the concussions, you see the NFL taking protocols, you see college taking protocols, they're coming out with certain kind of helmets. They're talking about how these concussions start as early as playing high school sport, hell, maybe even pee-wee sports, who knows? Do you see the day coming when the talent pool to the NFL will probably dry up as more and more parents are steering their kids away from playing football to maybe more baseball, maybe more basketball, because those are in it. Baseball, I believe basketball and soccer to me are more international sports. A lot of people gearing their kids over to soccer, which, by the way, you can have hit injuries in soccer. But do you think parents may decide to take another alternative for their kids when it comes to sport and steer them away? Because this is what my concern is. A hell of a lot of black kids are playing football. Look at the NFL, majority black. Look at the college football scene, majority black. Look, even if you look at a little league sport or sport on the lower level, little peewee, or when I was growing up, you had the POW league, the police league that was sponsored by the police department. Most of the kids on the field are black. Not that white kids and other kids don't play football, but I'm looking at the fact that if there's all these concussions, then that means that our kids, and I am a person that's about my people, concerned about my people, that means that black children are being damaged early on with these symptoms. Early on, because we got a lot of our black kids running around out there on those football fields.
Yeah, definitely. I do think, I don't think it's going to be probably in the next couple of years, because I think a lot of these kids are probably already in football. Maybe they're already enjoying it. But I do think kids that are being born now, or kids that are 5 years old, or kids that can't play football yet, I do definitely see parents sending their kids away to other sports. And now when you see soccer on a world stage, with the World Cup, and you see that the U.S. isn't in it, to me, I think there's going to be more kids playing soccer, just for the simple fact that it is an international sport. You can make crazy amounts of money, even in Major League Baseball, which I believe their contracts are guaranteed, also in the NBA. And just from a money standpoint, there's really not a huge advantage for you to go and play football. There's not. There's less. If you look at the pros and cons, I think there's more cons than pros if you decide to let your kid play football. And there's plenty of other sports. We just named 3 that they can go in and play, and I think play immediately too, and they can make it to probably to the pros a lot faster and without any lingering head injuries.
Okay, brother, I have a theory, and I've been dancing around with this theory in my head. I want to get a professional brother like yourself opinion. When it comes to sports, basketball, football, the 2 major sports that you find in schools, high school and college, and a lot of our kids, as I said, are in this sport, and they are at risk for these head injuries. But one of the things that I notice is when you look at the HBCUs, they, for the most part, many of our HBCUs are using inferior or very poor facilities. They don't have the big football stadiums. They don't have the big mega arenas. Some schools might have better infrastructure than others. But when I look at the condition of our black colleges and the fact that every year, you have the Negro College Fund, and they need to create revenue for scholarships, revenue for equipment, revenue for new this and that. And this is my theory, brother, and you give me your honest opinion about it. It's always been my dream and my thought that black people, if we have kids that are great athletes, now I'm talking about, so I don't want anyone in the chat room to misunderstand what I'm saying. Whether you have academics, I think same thing, you should go. I'm talking about the athlete in particular. When you have an athlete in your family, a woman, a young lady, a young man, I always believe that black people should stop sending our kids. If every black man, father, mother, uncle Ray, Pookie, everybody in the neighborhood would steer our young black athletes, or even our young young scholar athletes, those that have not only bronze, but they have brains, both combinations. We should be steering our kids away from these traditional white universities, and I'll tell you why. Because college football and basketball did not become what it is today without the black female or male athlete. If every black youngster was to go be sent to an HBCU school, can you imagine what would happen to, let's say, Notre Dame, Florida State, Florida, Alabama certainly is winning championships because they've got more black men than a little.
Their whole team's black.
Exactly. So, and there was a time in history when you were a black athlete, you couldn't play at Alabama. You couldn't play at Tennessee. I think the first black quarterback at Tennessee was a guy named Holloway Craigs. His name was Holloway. They did a 30. His name was Holloway. I know that. They did a 30 for 30 about him, about how he broke into becoming one of their first black quarterbacks at the university. He was one of their better quarterbacks in history. Okay. I got to get these last names down too. Let me just move on with my theory here. So let's say every black child was sent to an HBCU school, whether academics or athletes, or just in general. you see where I'm going here? It could drive the schools like Alabama, Florida, Florida State. They would not be that exciting to watch. They would not be that good because they would be just mediocre. I would submit to you that nobody would want to watch a bunch of white men only running around the football field. I submit to you that it would be the most boringest sporting event that you've ever seen in your life. If every young man was playing in the HBCU schools, now people would say, well, no, he don't have a chance to get to the big leagues like that. Yes, he does, because if all of the best black athletes were going to the HBCU schools, where do you think the NFL is going to do their scouting? They're going to go to Grambling, Southern, Florida, Rattler, Raider. They're going to go to Howard, Morehouse. They're going to be scouting these black kids in those schools. Now, what's going to happen to the ratings when all the best football and basketball is being played at the HBCU schools? All these traditional white schools, in my theory, would probably lose their TV contracts because nobody would be watching. In my theory, it's my utopia theory. And so automatically by default of that situation, in my theory, the HBCU schools would get the TV money, which would allow them to do what the white schools have been doing. Build big stadiums, better chemistry labs, you know, the whole 9 yard, brother.
Right, right.
And if every black parent, when a Nick Saban knocks on their door and says, I want to recruit your son to play for my school, every black parent should say, I'm sorry, my child is going to Grambling State. But thank you, but no thank you. And if that was to happen, don't you know what a panic would happen across the sports world? Do you know how that would change the whole narrative? Instead of these NBA scouts going to Duke, they would have to go, who's good in basketball in the black? They would have to go to an Alabama, Hampton. They would have to go to a Hampton and do their scouting there. And the young black men would still come out of these schools, still make their money. The schools would benefit economically because when you look at what's happening across the landscape, these schools are making their money off of black talent. Where does this black talent come from? It comes from the black community. It comes from black people. Why are we giving these schools our freaking resources, which is our what? Our most precious resources, our children. What do you got to think about my I have a dream, my Dr. King speech?
It would be crazy. It would be such a flip that people would be scrambling around. Nick Saban wouldn't have a job because he would lose every single game. I'm going to say that if it was all white players on the team, they would probably lose the majority of their games, just hands down. But I think it would completely change the landscape of sports and how we see it. And I think that's amazing. I think it could happen. There are some kids that I've seen that are 5-star recruits and they're going to HBCUs. So it's possible. It definitely has to start in the home. It has to start with the parents saying that this is a great option for you. You will still be looked at and seen. And I went to Morehouse myself. So you look at the stadium at Morehouse, there was only one side of bleachers. There wasn't even bleachers on both sides. So that is, even some high schools here in Texas have a bigger stadium than what Morehouse did. But if they all went to HBCUs, it would be crazy. There would be no need to even have Florida State. There wouldn't even be no need to have all of these other schools, because that's where all the talent would go, and they would be forced to come there. They would be forced to give them TV contracts.
Okay, now let me give you a little bit of history. This is why I know it would work. At one point in time, black students could only go to historical black colleges. We were not wanted at these other schools, right?
Right.
Do you know this, brother? Do you know most of some of the first championships in the NFL that were played out, and most of what caused the NFL to become what it was today is because of an influx of great athletes that came out of historical black colleges? Do you know that the Sweetness, Walter Payton, played at Jackson State University?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Do you know, there were players that played at Grambling State for Eddie Robinson, my dear frat brother, A5A in the mega chapter now. They played for Eddie Robinson that ended up being drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers owe some of their wins and their championship ways to an influx of black players who were drafted onto their team. Okay? A lot of people don't even realize that the only reason why Terry Bradshaw got 4 championships is because there was a black quarterback who played with Pittsburgh. He couldn't keep his nose clean. He got on drugs. And Terry Bradshaw said he was a better quarterback than me. I was still on the bench. That was brother, God darn, these names keep losing me. I'm getting old. What was that brother's name? He had a drug problem. He couldn't keep his nose clean. Played with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a black quarterback. His name was oh my God, Randy something. God.
Let me see. I'm gonna try to look it up while you're talking.
Real quick, because I got a lot of stuff going on. Let me see. He was black. He was black. I think he played his college ball at HBCU at school as well. He could not keep his nose clean of drugs. And that allowed Terry Bradshaw to eventually take over the reins of the team, which Terry Bradshaw admits to this day that he was nowhere near as good of a quarterback as this brother is. Let me check the chat room right now. Somebody in there may be able to refresh my brain here. Well, I should probably use, let me see here. Go back in the chat room. Let me see. Does anybody in that chat room remember Joe Gilliam? Yes, Joe Gilliam. Hey, I love you, Brother Hanks. Brother Hanks in the chat room, you deserve a clap, brother. You deserve a clap for that. I'm going to clap for this brother. That's Joe Gilliam. You ever heard of Joe Gilliam, brother?
Yes, I have.
So let me work my clap magic. Thank you, Brother Hank, in the chat room, YouTube chat room. He says Joe Gilliam. Joe Gilliam played with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They said he was a hell of a quarterback, but he had a drug problem. He would show up late for games. He would show up, to cocaine. And Terry Bradshaw said to this day that he would have never won 4 Super Bowls, would have never had the success that he had if it had not been for Joe Gilliam having the problems that he had. Other than that, Joe Gilliam, he says, would have won those 4 championships, which would have changed history. And
right.
Terry Bradshaw would have just been some backup quarterback that we never heard of.
Right. Exactly.
So, and Joe Gilliam is another black HBC product, if I'm not mistaken. So, in a nutshell, the NFL and all these other sports are what they are because of black talent that has come forth from the historical black colleges. So you can't tell me that they could not create that energy again. Because if all the best athletes go to the black colleges, where do you think they're going to pick them from?
Exactly. They're not going to have any choice. It would work. It would definitely work. And it would have to start at a 5-star recruits going to those HBCUs, and people will be coming. They won't have a choice. They'll have to come.
Yeah, let me just read this. Underrated Darkness is the brother that I was talking to you about. He does sports commentary as well. Really good brother here. He says, don't forget about Doug Williams, the first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl and MVP in '85. Oh, most definitely. Walter Payton, as we said before, went to Jackson State. Most definitely. That's right. Thank you for the statements that you just said, brother. Doug Williams played at Grambling. That's right. He's a Grambling alumni. So That's my utopia that I wish would happen if black people could get on code in unison and send our kids to these schools. But the problem with us as a people is that we sometimes think that the white man's ice is colder than the black man's ice. And we think that if the school is white, it must be better. That's part of the cultural conditioning, unfortunately, that we still struggle with. What are your thoughts on that?
You're right. You're right 100%. If right now, if Nick Saban came in a kid's living room and the coach of Grambling State came in the living room, 9 times out of 10, the kid's gonna know who Nick Saban is. He's not gonna have any clue who the Grambling State coach is. And you're 100% right. I'm not gonna say we, but I'm gonna say some people think that because it's white, it's better, and it's not. It's really not. That when you look at Morehouse College, which is a historically black college, but it's also one of the best schools in the nation. It has Rhodes Scholars every single year. It has multiple students that go on to be successful in life, successful in whatever they decide to go into. So it's a myth. That's exactly what that is. It's a myth. That's not true.
We got DJ Nana Boss in the chat room on speaker. Speaker, thank you for being here, sister. Once again, if the sound's not to your liking, go over to the YouTube version of this, which is the same name as my program, Information Man Show. But and I've got to work on that. I've got to fix my mix board to a certain way where it can still come through with the crispy sound through the speaker board that I got to figure that out. I got to get that rectified. Man, I tell you, brother. I tell you. Let's turn the topics around here and give me your real honest opinion as to what you believe the landscape is going to be in the NBA right now. The Warriors have Cousins. It looks like the Lakers are not going to get their dream team of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the landscape is very interesting because it's very, very heavy in the Western Conference. Obviously, with DeMarcus Boogie Cousins going over to the Warriors, it is going to be virtually impossible to beat them. Bearing somebody gets injured, bearing someone some type of, God forbid, plane crash that kills all of them. I don't see any way possible that these Warriors are going to lose. Now, I do think LeBron, I've said this numerous times, he literally took the most difficult road that somebody can take to on going to the next team that he went to. The Lakers have a bunch of young talent, which is great, a bunch of 1- and 2-year players, in addition to Luol Deng, who has one of the worst contracts of all mankind that the Lakers are paying him. But I think LeBron's going to get his team together. And here's the great thing about LeBron going to the Lakers. He's going to be working with Magic, who's one of the greatest. I think Magic probably understands LeBron more than any other GM that he's ever been around, any other person probably in the NBA that he's ever been around, because they're very similar players. So I think LeBron's going to get his team together. He's going to work very close with Magic. But I think it's going to be very difficult, even more so now, to beat the Warriors. Now, you have Carmelo Anthony, who's out there. There's a possibility that he can go to either the Rockets or the other team is the 76ers, or God forbid, people are talking about the Warriors, which I think that's got to be false. But you never know what can happen. So I think the Western Conference is going to be very interesting. In the East, you really have the Celtics. You have Toronto, who's going to be around. And then from there on, it's basically a complete toss-up. But I think the Celtics probably have the best chance, in my opinion, to come out the East. The 76ers is going to continue to get better. I know they're trying to get Kawhi. And the Kawhi thing is probably the most interesting part of this whole summer, which I don't know if he's going to get moved. I don't know if he's going to get traded. I'm assuming he's going to get traded somewhere. The Lakers were supposed to be the dream destination where he said he wants to go to, but obviously that has not happened yet. So to me, that's the big story of the summer. Kawhi, also where Carmelo is going to get either traded or released and signs to.
Okay. Let me read this question. I want to get your thoughts. We have someone in the chat room, the YouTube chat room, Matthews, who says there would be no such thing as sports if it was not for the melanated family, black people. But the sad part, they use us for everything, even use us as target practice. All sports evolve around the melanated family. So basically what's being stated here is that if it wasn't for black people on this planet, there would not be any real sports. And the funny thing about it is as people enjoy watching us play sports, at the same time, we're also being made a target practice, meaning with all the police shootings that have been going on, for all the social ills that have been happening. That would be a good question. That's a good statement that you made. Don't you find it interesting, brother Ben, that it is a weird dichotomy in America that at the same time, white people will go to a sporting event, or people will go to a sporting event. They will cheer for their favorite black athlete. They will wear the jersey, have the name on the back. They will cheer. Yeah, thank you. But at the same time, they don't want the average black man and woman living near them. Sometimes, in some cases, in a lot of cases, we're being mistreated by police out here. The same police that would say they're a fan of LeBron James. What are your thoughts on that? That's a weird type of man. That's a weird one.
Yeah. It's more so. Let me watch you do something. But if you get close to me, if you challenge me, I'm gonna shoot you. Or if you challenge me, I'm gonna disrespect you. And to another point, look at all these players when they're playing great and they're not saying anything. Everybody's all happy. The minute that Colin Kaepernick kneeled, everybody just went in a complete uproar. Not to mention that he talked to, and I'm going back, but he talked to someone in the military who gave him that suggestion, who wasn't black. So we can play sports great, but the minute that we say something that is clearly an injustice, this is not a confusion. This is not a, well, I wonder maybe if it is. It's clearly injustice that's being happened 8 times out of 10, I would say 9 times out of 10 to black people, then it's a problem. And I think that is, you're 100% correct, is we just want to appraise you from afar. We want to see what you're doing from afar. We don't want to get close. We don't want to get personal, because then we have to be forced to really recognize what's going on. And then nobody wants, and people don't want to do that.
Let me see if I can fill some other questions in the chat room. It's kind of a lot of folks in there have come in over the time that we've been on, brother.
I'm gonna get my cord real quick.
Okay, no problem at all. Do what you got to do.
Info, whatever you want to know, come join the info show.
I'm back.
It's the info, whatever you want to know, come join the info show. It's the info, whatever you want to know, come join the info show. It's the info, we got the info, whatever you want to know, come join the info show. It's the info, man. You can call them information, info, man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. Win, lose, or draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team.
Okay, everybody, we're back. The brother had to grab something real quick. I'm not going to keep you super long, brother. How much more time do you have? I know it's getting late back where you are, but I just want to be respectful of your time. because I do have a few more questions to ask you, brother. And we're gonna definitely have you back for some more shows too around these issues.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I got time. I'm a night owl, so
Then
stay up late anyway, so I'm good.
That makes two of us. Let me fill some more questions. Underrated Darkness, if you got any questions, brother, put them in the chat. Let me see. Melanated Nation is in the house. What's good, info? It's all good, brother. It's good to see you. Angry Black Man is coming to the chat, into the chat room from the speaker system. What's going on, Angry Black Man? Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everybody out there in Facebook Live listening, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Information Man Show. Information Man Show on YouTube. And let the man that I felt did not, let me play a sound bite. This is a man that I was very excited about when he got elected, but then I started to have a difference of opinion about him. But let's take advantage of the sound bite while I still have it. And here we go, folks.
This is Barack Obama. You're listening to Information Man, and don't forget to subscribe.
Okay. Now, brother, where do you think, with all the social issues that we deal with in society, getting back into where we were, police shooting us, Colin Kaepernick took a lot of hell for what he did, even though a lot of people don't even know this. I'm going to tell you something. Do you know that you're not supposed to wear the American flag in terms of flag etiquette? If you look up flag etiquette right now, folks, if you Google it, you'll find out that you're not supposed to wear the flag on a shirt. You're not supposed to wear it on a hat, like you had a little hats. You're not supposed to have the flag draped in a flat position. You know how the NFL comes out there and they drape the flag across the field? It's not supposed to be flown like that. That's actually a disrespect to the flag. It's supposed to be up high, not in a vertical, in a horizontal fashion. It's supposed to be vertical. Not supposed to do that. Not supposed to be on no damn shirts. Not supposed to make bikinis out of it. Not supposed to make no shorts out of it. None of that kind of stuff. See? Right. So if everybody that's giving him hell, well, they're hypocrites, because everything that they do with the flag in the NFL is hypocritical. And let me tell you how hypocritical the NFL is too, brother. Do you know that the NFL was charging the military millions of dollars just to let them come out there and drape the flag across the field, color guard, and a whole 9 yards? Because the military likes to promote joining the military with the NFL. They charge the military a lot of money for that. So if the NFL is so patriotic, and if the then right, why in the hell are they charging the military to be able to promote the military on? And this is a NFL football league. I don't know if you know this, brother. This is an NFL football league that used to have a non-profit status.
Yeah. And it is, and it's fake patriotism though. It's not real. It's not real patriotism, because it's only to the benefit, majority of the time, to one side. It's not patriotism for everybody. It's patriotism for certain people. At the end of the day, that's what it honestly comes down to. And when you look at these with the flag, I've seen all the rules, because I looked it up myself. And yeah, it says that you can't have a flag, you can't wear it. And a lot of these things, the NFL is doing it. And then when one person kneels, one person who then really opens people's eyes to what's going on and bringing a presence to the issue, then people have a problem with it. But you're right, and it's really not real patriotism. It's fake only to one person. It's not patriotism for everybody. Patriotism for one side, which is the majority of the time the white side of the flag.
Mm. Wow. Let's look at the landscape of where have you been noticing any trends of where sports is going in the world? I think that soccer is definitely a world sport, and I think that it's trending up high. I think ESPN, all these different organizations are seeing that there's a lot of money in soccer. They're seeing the crowds that they pull. where do you think, I mean, NFL football is big in the States, but it's not really as big as we think it is in the whole world scheme of things. Because a lot of times in America, we tend to say things like the World Series. Well, wait a minute. They're not playing the world in baseball. Not in the, I mean, you got people who are from different parts of the world in baseball, but they're not playing against the world. You'll say in the NFL, we're world champs. Well, they're not playing American football in the world. And in the NBA, which, you know, the NBA could actually do what they do in soccer, which is have a Champions League, meaning whatever team in the NBA wins the NBA champion, I think should play against the champion in Europe or the champion or whatever in the other part of the world. I think that would be splendid. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think that's a great idea. I mean, I didn't even think about that, but I think that's a great idea. Then you can truly see who's the world champs, because they're not playing against everybody in the world. That's just a name that we decided to call it, but it's really not a world champion. And I think soccer is going to continue to trend as a world sport in the way, and I go back to this, the way that U.S. is not in the World Cup. I think that was a major wake-up call. And now we're going to see people all over the world in all sports saying, we need to push these young kids to play soccer. We need to push these 12, 13, 14-year-olds that are super athletic. We need to push them to play soccer. Because if they can play soccer or football, that's also called, if they can play that, then they could make a difference. And we don't like to lose. The U.S. does not like to lose in anything. So I guarantee you they're going to be putting some money into this. They're going to be pushing kids to play soccer, which I think will continue to grow, will be huge. And by the next World Cup, I think we're definitely going to see a better U.S. team, because it's going to be kids are going to be pushed to play it.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I brought you took me right where I wanted to go. With football being seen as a sport that could be detrimental to one's health in terms of the concussions and everything that comes with it. And plus with football, you have to be a certain size to play football. You got to be certain type of strength. When you look at soccer, it's very similar to baseball in the sense that you could be tall, you could be short. You can have certain intangible skills that you can still play the sport at a high level, and you can have some deficits in other areas of your abilities and still play that sport. Football is a sport like where you have to be on all cylinders, you know, in some cases, speed, agility. You need that in soccer, of course. But I think I know that they've always said that, well, soccer won't be that big in the United States, but it's big around the world. And I feel that the trend's going to happen, that you're going to see more kids playing other alternative sports other than the traditional football. Basketball is already an international sport. So basketball is not going anywhere.
Right. That's true. And you have every year there's multiple players that get drafted from the Euro League, from Australia, from all these other countries. And that already tells you that basketball is international. And baseball is also international too, just to a certain degree. Dominican Republic, Mexico, Japan. So there's some spots around the world, but not necessarily everywhere. But I think you're right to that point.
Let me read this. I have a sister in the chat room that I respect tremendously. True Royal Families just stepped in. She's made a very profound statement. She says that a profound statement. She said that this shit is about controlling black men. So her perspective is that when you look at sports in its landscape today, with everything that's going on in the NFL, do you believe, in your estimate, that this is about control of black men?
I agree. Yeah. Now, I'm going to say in the NFL, truly and completely, that's what it's about. Yeah, even with this new rule on kneeling and everything. I think the NBA, it's not necessarily about control, and I think baseball, it's not, because it's just more freedom. They're not. When I look at NBA, I'll look at baseball. They're not trying to control person. Now, you may have some situations where, kind of talked about, I think pre-show, Dan Gilbert, who wanted to control LeBron. But the thing is, LeBron is the most powerful player in the NBA. He can decide to do whatever he wants to do, and nobody's going to say, LeBron, you can't do that. In the NFL, there's no player like that that can say, I'm going to do whatever I want. If I want to go to another team, if I want to orchestrate some trades, and I'm a player, and I can be a player, GM, coach, everything, I don't see that. That doesn't happen in the NFL. So I think in the NFL completely, yes, it's about controlling black men. This is what I'm telling you to do. Either you decide to do it, or you go play another sport, or you just don't play at all. And that's that ownership mentality. I think the other two sports, though, I don't think it's about ownership, because they got freedom to really speak their mind and do what they want to do.
Okay, let me ask you. I had let me field another question in the chat room, but I have something that's coming to mind that I want to ask you. So, True Royal Family makes a statement about, we definitely can't play dumb and act like that black people are not getting killed in this society, while at the same time athletes. Where do you think, what's your opinion on where athletes stand today? I know LeBron has started to speak out a little bit more than he did before. I do have a bone to pick with LeBron because I didn't think that he spoke out as he should have as it relates to Tamir Rice in Cleveland. When he was first approached about that, he was sort of like, I don't know all the circumstances of it. He didn't really want to get into it. He didn't really come out full blast in the beginning. But it seems to me that lately he's been willing to talk a little bit more about these issues. I mean, I don't think he's a Malcolm X or he's definitely not a Muhammad Ali, a Bill Russell type, a Kareem type, in my opinion. But I think he's part of the millennial generation, and that's a generation that I feel has not always had the best grasp of history.
Right.
And really, because I remember some years ago, a couple of years ago, LeBron was on a magazine cover. I think it was some sort of fashion cover. And they had him depicted in a demonstrative fashion. He had a white woman in his hand that he was holding. He sort of had this kind of look, like an animal look, like this. Basketball in the hand, looked very demonstrative, right? And someone found an old 1920s or 30s photo of King Kong and said it looked just like the King Kong picture, where he had a King Kong, had a white woman in his hand. He's very demonstrative and angry. And the pose that LeBron James took was similar, if not the exact pose of the King Kong photo. And when that was brought to his attention, and I know that people are young, when you're youthful, you don't really know what you should know. And over time, you should mature as a person. How you think, I know certainly for me, how I think when I was in my 20s is not how I think now. In my 30s, I don't think the way I do in my 40s now as I did in my 30s. And I certainly won't. I'm about 2 years away from being 50 years old. I certainly don't think the way I will think the way I do now as I get into my 50s. If I'm blessed to live long life. But I remember LeBron James was asked about that photo, and he did not seem to be very woke about it. He did not seem to have a grasp of history. He did not seem to have a grasp of what he allowed himself to be portrayed as in a subliminal fashion. There were some that criticized him for that. What are your opinions?
Yeah, I think he has grown tremendously, but I know exactly that cover you're talking about. I think that was Vanity Fair, because I've seen it recently.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was basically depicting him as a gorilla, which has been, as Black people, we've been called that before, been depicted as that. And I think he has grown. And I think part of it is also he spoke out about something, and a lady on some news station says, "Just shut up and play." And I think that moment, like we said, I think he's grown, but I think at that moment, I think he fully sees what's going on, and that you were just seen as they just want you to shut up and play. They don't want you to talk about the issues. So I think he has grown, but I think the landscape has to improve because these things are happening in the cities where these guys play, or in the state where these guys play. And I think it's on TV, it's national, it's everywhere. And if they're able to talk about it, if they're able to bring attention to it, if they're able to do something about it, they're able to start rallies, do all of these things, which they have the power and ability to do. They're some of the most powerful people in the world, obviously, because money creates power. And if you have money, you're able to do certain things that people that don't have money aren't able to do. So I think that they have to recognize the voice that they have, use that voice to draw it to the issues, and go out there and help wherever the help is needed.
Totally agree with you. We do have to realize that people grow. How we think now is different how we will think tomorrow. But you know, I'm certainly one that when it comes to the word wokeness, it gets thrown around like it's something popular. I think wokeness has to be what you do through your actions. Your actions will speak louder for your wokeness, in my opinion. That's the reason why I bring this up to you next. I was very, and I heard you say this, the NFL union, the players, they cut themselves short when they took that $86 or $88 million from the NFL. And you had Colin Kaepernick, which really disappointed me. I was disappointed because I didn't see that the players took a knee, from my vantage point, simply because they were in consolidation or with unity with Colin Kaepernick. It was once the Donald Trump began to talk about the NFL and called the players, these kind of slurred words. That's when the owners and the players begin to get into taking a knee. And that's where I'm disappointed, because Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee for something much, much more personal to Black people. And I didn't see the NFL players taking knees in unison across the board as they begin to do so, the more Donald Trump started talking about the NFL. So I almost felt like they sold Colin Kaepernick out, because he should have been at the table in those negotiations, okay? And he was not a part. And I really felt that the players in the NFL, the Black players, should have made certain demands and said, we want Colin Kaepernick involved in these negotiations. Because you're talking about an issue. How can you talk about an issue when the person who brought light to the issue at that level wasn't even in the room to negotiate what would be the changes to be made, what would be the money amount? And he didn't do this for any money amount, What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it became a popular thing to do. It became and the Cowboys, they come out there before the anthem and they all kneel together. That part of the season, and then from there on, it was more so we're doing this against Donald Trump. It started to have nothing to do with the original point of it, which the majority of the people were against. Now you have Jerry Jones and random people out here kneeling, but it really clearly had nothing to do with where it all started, which was Colin Kaepernick against the social injustices that are going on. So, and it is disappointing because the players, some of them were doing it in unison with Kaepernick or for Kaepernick. Some were just doing it because the people on their team were doing it, and it was becoming a cool statement directed at Donald Trump, who really wanted the situation to be taken away from the social injustice. He wanted it to be pointed to him, because when it's pointed at him, he gets the attention. He gets the let's see what Donald Trump calls today because he likes being in the news. That's his main focus. That's ultimately what he's doing this for anyway. So I think also to take that to another point, and Big L was bringing this up in the chat room, is that there's a collusion case that Colin Kaepernick is in right now, which is basically collusion against the owners for not signing him. He went to numerous workouts. He's clearly the best free agent that's out right now, but no one has signed him because there was a collusion. To me, this shouldn't really take that long. There was a collusion. If no one signed you, but people are saying, well, he's good enough, but well, we don't want him to kneel again. You got everybody kneeling now, so kneeling isn't the issue anymore. Kneeling isn't the problem anymore. And I think what depending on what happens with Colin Kaepernick in this collusion case, was I think he's going to win it. And I've been saying this: either they're going to pay him some money to tell him to go away, you'll never play again, or they'll put him on a team, or they'll nudge someone to sign him. But I think this is going to blow up in the owner's face because they did collude against him.
Okay, let me read this from True Royal Family. She says, in the end, if every black man walks off the field, the NFL is dead, my king. You have the power, and we queens and royal will fully support your position to get back on your throne. So this True Royal Family is a beautiful sister, big time. She does really great YouTube. You should subscribe to her, check her out, brother. True Royal Family is the name that she goes by, and she has great content. She's a very inspirational sister. She's been a mentor to me, brother, since I've grown here in my channel. She's given me all the inspiration that I need, and her attitude is that we as black men are kings, and that we need to start acting as kings, carrying ourselves that way, having a mindset. One of the things that she really hates to hear us say as black men is that I'm sorry. So if you say you're sorry, she says you're never sorry. No black man is sorry. Never use that term. So that's the kind of inspirational sister that she is. When you start using terms that sort of marginalize yourself, she lifts you up and say, don't talk like that. And so this is the kind of stock that we really come from, brother, that we are a lot greater than we give ourselves credit. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I love sports. I grew up playing basketball. I grew up running track and field. You know, I grew up thinking that I was gonna play professional sports. Didn't work out that way, but I always stayed on top of my academics. And I love sports because it has given, let's be honest, it has given black people an outlet of expression. It has allowed some black people some upper mobility, some economic stability. It has brought us great people like Muhammad Ali, who to me, he was more than just a boxer. He was an activist, in my opinion. I have to go to a man that I love dearly, and that's Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson was the ultimate, what you would call Renaissance man. He played football. He was a star in, I think, in football, writing, acting. I think football, and I think he ran some track too. I think he was a great athlete. Great athlete.
Yeah, he was.
He was an all-around athlete. I think he played basketball as well. The brother did it all. I mean, true Renaissance man. I love what sports brings, because I'll be honest with you, when I grew up, my mother and father got divorced when I was very young. I didn't have the best relationship with my father. And a lot of some of my principles of learning to be a man came from sports. I had some of the toughest black coaches you would ever. Woo. I don't know what generation you come from, but I come from the generation where you didn't get participation trophies. I remember when I played at the boys club, I was playing basketball as a youngster, and we were playing in a tournament, and we were upset. And the coach, he was a black man, he said, y'all ain't getting no trophies. Ain't nobody getting nothing. Y'all was out there running around with your heads cut off. I mean, he gave us tough love. I mean, my God, the stuff that he said would get you in a lot of trouble today. That's how you can't even play dodgeball in school anymore, man. That's how sad things have gotten. Sad state of affairs. You can't do dodgeball. When I was a kid, we used to do boys chase the girls and girls chase the boys. I love that. But I had the kind of coaches that would call you out. You know, I don't want to see no tears. Y'all ain't getting no we ain't having no reward banquet. Y'all stunk the place up. I mean, that's how I was raised and how I grew up. And I think it has made me, I don't want to say a bitter or too overly tough. It's made me a strong person because I grew up at a time when you played sports, you either went out there to kick ass or you got your ass kicked.
Right.
Nowadays, when people do sports with kids, it's all about, oh, don't worry, you're going to get a participation trophy. We're going to Chuck E. Cheese. Everybody just be happy. And I know it's about building up self-esteem and you don't want to break kids' spirit. But when I was coming up, I'm 48 years old, nobody gave a damn about it. If the coach was taking us out to eat, it was because we won the goddamn game.
Right, right.
Lost the game, the coach didn't take out no money and say, here's sodas for all y'all, man. You know, back in the day, you know, the coach would get soda pops, you know, get the canned soda pops for us. When we won a game, we got pizza, we got drinks. When we lost the game, we didn't get nothing. He just said, take them, he was like that movie Soldier Stories. My coach, some of my coaches was like Sergeant Waters. He came in the room, he said, take them goddamn uniforms off. Y'all place up tonight. What were you doing out there? With your gun off. Y'all gonna have a damn practice right now. That's how I came up in sports, brother. And it didn't destroy me. It made me stronger in my character as a person. It also helped me build me as a man. What are your thoughts about that? And for yourself, too, brother, for yourself too.
Yeah. I think you're definitely right. That growing up, you won or you lost. It wasn't a fourth place, fifth place, sixth place. Wasn't any ribbons. Either you won or you lost. You was keeping score, and now it is completely different. Where you can get ninth place and you get some type of ribbon or something. And I think it is teaching kids that there's no losers, and that's false. You win, you lose. That's what I was taught growing up. You win some and you lose some. You're not going to win every single time. You're not going to lose every single time, but you got to know that there's a difference. You got to be able to bounce back from losing. You can't be, you're not going to be a winner every single time. That's just not how everything works. This is not how life works, period. You're going to lose some. You're going to go through challenges. You're going to go through difficulties. So, yeah, that's what I grew up on, and that's what I believe.
Okay. I want to recommend to everybody in the chat room, everybody listening, definitely check out the book, Only the Ball Was White. I brought that up because that was a book that I studied and I extensively around the Negro Baseball League. And the funny thing about this, Brother Ben, is that, and I'm going to put in the chat room some of your links to your channel. Everybody, I need you all to support this brother. He has a fantastic sports show, BS3 Sports Show. He does music as well. It's on thespeaker.com. I'm going to drop the links to his actual channel page into the chat room because I want folks to support you, brother.
Thank you.
And I'm going to drop all, I have just so you know, folks, I have the links to his channel, to his Twitter, to ways that you can keep his Facebook page. I have it in the description of this video. I'm also going to drop it in the chat room in just a moment. Let me read. Anybody else has any questions? Let's see. Let me see. True Royal Family. I'm going to read what True Royal Family in Exposing Fake Blacks are saying. Let's see. I'm going to go with Fake Black, and then I'm going to go back to True Royal Family. He says, white sport players suck. The only reason white baseball players make the NBA is to keep with the NBA. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Let me see. Make the NBA is to keep white NBA fans happy because they are tall but can't shoot. Okay. Let me ask. This is my question for you too, brother, as I'm gonna bring up this question from True Royal Family. LeBron James came in the lead a man, and he will leave as a boy. He let them white boys put fear in his heart. I hurt when I see that. So she's sort of True Royal Family sort of feels that LeBron James has kind of lost a little bit of his
Yeah, I mean, I think he's and I am gonna have to get ready to wrap it up, but I do think that he has been I think disrespected early on. But I do think now, like I mentioned earlier, I do think now he's starting to realize that it is there are people up against him, and there are people wanting his downfall, wanting his demise, wanting him to be out of the league, wanting him to just shut up and play. So I do think early on, yes, that's true. I do think sometimes now, maybe, but I think he ultimately controls from here on out until he retires. I think he controls his own destiny as far as where he wants to play, what he wants to do after basketball, and what he wants to do for his future.
Okay, brother. Well, let me just say this. I want to appreciate you. I appreciate you, brother, so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us. I know it's getting late back there. There's a 2-hour difference from where I am in the West Coast, but I want to thank you for being with us tonight, for being willing to express yourself and take on the questions that the chat room had. And I think this was great. I want to have you back on whenever it's possible to address more of these issues around sports and anything else that's on your mind, brother, anything. And I will be, you will see me checking out your program a lot more. You'll see me in your chat room a lot more. I'm going to definitely make sure that I put some of the links in the chat room right now. Everybody definitely support the brother. I put a link in there for his speaker.com page for his show. I'm going to put his Facebook in there and his Instagram in there as well in just a moment. But I want to thank you, brother, for being with me tonight.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Appreciate you for having me on. Appreciate you for sharing the information. I enjoyed it, and I definitely want to come back on again.
Okay, brother. Well, I'm going to give you a clap because you were fantastic tonight. So I want to definitely
appreciate you.
And I'll be looking out for your show. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes, and I usually do Q&A with some of the folks in the chat room. So I'm going to bring some folks on. I'm going to definitely put the links in there for you. And thank you for being with us, brother.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Good night.
So there you have it. My man from BS3 Sports Show. I want to thank everybody for listening. I'm going to do a quick Q&A.
It's the info. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info man. You can call him information info man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. Win, lose, or draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. We talk to Japanese shogun, Aztecs, Olmecs, and African Dogon. It's the info. It's the amount of info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info. It's the amount of info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info man. You can call him information info man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. Win, lose, or draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. We talk to Japanese shogun, Aztecs, Olmecs, and African Dogon. It's the info. It's the amount of info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info. It's the amount of info. Whatever you want to know, come join the man with the info show. It's the info.
If anybody wants to come in to the chat room, talk a little bit about the program tonight or anything that's on your mind, you want to express yourself as it relates to the issue or anything that's on your mind, you're more than welcome. I put a link inside. I want to thank my man BS3 Sports and Music for being here. I'm going to put some of his information in the chat room.
Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount, the info show. It's the info. It's the Mount, the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount, the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount, the info show. It's the info. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount, the info show. It's the info, man. You can call them information info, man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. Win, lose, or draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. We talk Japanese, shogun, Aztecs, Olmecs, and African Dogon. It's the info. It's the Mount, the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount, the info show. It's the info. It's the Mount, the
What's going on, my man? I got real Aaron Collins on the panel with me. How you doing, brother, tonight? Unmute yourself, brother Collins.
All right, what's happening?
All right, brother. You had a chance to hear a little bit about what we were talking about tonight. True Royal Family had some very strong statements that I definitely agree with. Definitely that if black men would stand up, we could definitely put football in a real bad state, put sports in a bad state, put this country in a real bad state. And I do believe that LeBron James has compromised himself. I never thought he should have went back to Cleveland the way Dan Gilbert and that fan base treated him. Okay, they treated Dan Gilbert was acting like LeBron was his slave. So I never liked the fact that he went back to Cleveland. And now, you know, he's run over to the Lakers in La La Land, where, of course, he had nigger written on his house. What are your thoughts about tonight's show, brother?
Yep. He was on some real stuff. You know, he was talking about how the sports he was talking about how the sports really is. I mean, and then if you paid attention to my comment, all sports is just a big ass plantation. And the draft, if you look at it, the draft is basically an auction block. You know how the slaves used to be auctioned?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And that's literally what it is. It's an auction.
I agree with you. I've done a video about that, about the NFL being a plantation. I do believe it is. When you look at the metaphor behind it, they play on a field. Black folks worked on a field.
Yep, exactly.
They just like on a plantation when they had Mandingo warriors or Mandingo the biggest black men fighting each other, while white men sit and enjoy it and drink and get enjoyment from it. Well, the NFL is the same way. They set up in a luxury box. They've got popcorn. They've got drinks in their hands. They're saying to themselves, "Look at my niggers run up and down that field, run, right?"
Yep. Yeah, like in Django.
Yeah, when you look at Django Unchained and all these,
yep.
So it is a plantation mentality, $1 million slave, as some would call it. Black men are used for their bodies, for their brute strength. When you look at college football is even worse, I think, because these young men are not even getting paid a dime. And then every time they need money to fly home because someone dies in the family, if I'm a coach and I take money out of my pocket and I give it to my student to fly back home, that's considered an NCAA violation. That's how the rules in the NCAA are so draconian. It's really a bad deal, a really bad deal. So that's why I told the brother tonight, I think that all black people should not send their kids to these schools. But unfortunately, a lot of us as black people tend to think that the white man's schools are better than our own schools. You know, you get a better education if he goes there. And but this is the funny thing about it. Do you know who do you think has the best business school in the country? Next to Harvard.
What do I think is the hottest school in the country? Next to Harvard. Well,
there's a black school in Florida.
It's a black school in Florida?
Yes. There's a black school.
Oh, wait a minute. What's that? What is the Hoyas? The school where the Hoyas are. No, wait, no, that's Georgetown I'm thinking about.
No, man. It's the Florida Raptors. It's a HBCU school. They have one of the. Let me tell you, brother. They have
this is still a black school you're talking about, right?
Brother, can you hear me? I'm trying to tell you, brother. It's a black school. It's a historical black college. It's in Florida. They have one of the. I think it's the Florida A&E Raptors. They have one of the best business schools in the country. You have historical black colleges that have some of the best engineering schools. When you want to go in, I once met when I was in DC going to a convention. I met a brother who went to historical black college and he learned food science. And he's the inventor of the Jello pudding pop. You have a lot of black people who went to some of these historical schools where they offer a food science course that are coming up with foods that we enjoy eating, you know, leisurely type foods. And so he came up with the whole idea and concept of the Jello pudding pop. He learned food science at the historical black colleges. You know why? Because a lot of the historical black colleges started off as agricultural schools. That's why they always have AT and Tech, and they always have these little acronyms on them, because a lot of these schools started off as technical colleges for agriculture when this was an agriculture-based economy. You hear what I'm saying?
That makes sense. Okay. I always wonder why they had the A&T at the end. Okay, yeah, like Florida A&T and all that stuff.
That means that these were schools. Remember, what area were black people working in as slaves? And even when we came out of slavery into Reconstruction, we were
sharecropping and all that. Okay, right. That makes sense. Sharecropping, cotton picking.
Yeah, agriculture, brother. Food services, agriculture. So even when after we came out of slavery, a lot of blacks got into agriculture. Look at my man who invented the peanut. The peanut, George Washington Carver.
Yeah, George Washington Carver.
Hey, where did he learn his skills from? The same thing. He went to these technical institute schools that were for black people.
Right.
His skills and his science, and he created the peanut. He was able to. He didn't create the peanut. He was able to take the peanut. Yeah,
I know. I know what you mean. He did. He had a lot of uses for the peanut.
He made penicillin from the peanut, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me in the chat room if I'm wrong. So a lot of this country's medicines were created out of black people working in agriculture. Much of this country's first crops and first development in their food production was out of black people working in agriculture before we went from a agricultural-based society economy to an industrial economy. So a lot of these schools got their start around that area. And so a lot of times black people will think that Stanford and Cal Berkeley and all these schools are better than historical black colleges. You have to look at the programs that the schools offer. There are programs in some of these historical black colleges that are better than the programs at your traditional white schools. And a lot of times black people, we get caught up in name recognition. Oh, my baby's going to Stanford. My baby's going to UCLA. Well,
going to Yale.
Yeah, if they're going to that school because they have a better program in a particular program that they're studying, that's one thing. But to just look But to just look at historical black colleges blatantly and just say, oh, they're not good schools without doing your investigation as to what schools offer, that's pure ignorance and bovine nonsense.
That makes sense.
So,
but like you say, bovine excrement.
Yes, brother, yes. So a lot of these schools, I regret, I'm going to tell you what my regret is. My regret is that I did not go to, I had a chance to go to Grambling State University.
Oh, yeah.
And I had scholarship money and everything coming my way, and I didn't go because I didn't want to be far away from my mom and far away from home.
I know what Grambling is.
Yeah, I was going to end up living with a family, and now that I look back on it, I wished I would have done it. I probably would have come away with a different perspective, being in a environment academically.
You know, when I lived in Dallas, I used to work at the State Fair, Texas, and every year they had what was known as the Battle of the Bands. That's in the South, right? And they had what was called the Grambling Prairie View. There was a name for it, the State Fair Classic.
Yeah.
And that was the the black game, and that's where they really turned up. Yeah. And really the most exciting thing, though, in my opinion, was the Battle of the Bands. Because the Battle of the Bands, they did it. The actual game itself, I'm gonna just go on and put it out there. It was kind of boring.
Yeah. Most people, when they go to these historical black colleges and watch these sporting events, everybody's there for the band. The band is the show, not the game on the field. I remember a few years ago, they do it. They're going to do it this year too. Every couple of years, every year, as we get close to the football season for college, all the historical black universities will go to different parts of the country to sort of promote their school. So in Sacramento, Grambling State came to town to play against Alabama State or something like that. I loved it. A couple years ago, you had Grambling coming to, you probably remember this, Grambling was coming up here to play San Jose State. I've gone to about at least 2 of those games. They think they played Southern one year. They played Grambling State one year. I loved it. I loved it. Those were great games. I loved it. So we just got to keep in mind that black colleges have something to offer, academics, athletics, and we think about considering sending our kids to schools where they're going to get a nurturing education. They're going to be around people that care about them for the most part, and they're not going to be around. They're not going to be around being in a school environment where you've got people who are out to try to stop them in their pursuit of what they want to pursue to become. They don't have to deal with racism and institutionalized racism while they're going to school, which is what I had to deal with. I mean, I lived in a pretty quote unquote liberal city in San Francisco, and for the most part, my college years were good in school. I had a few run-ins with a few teachers of the other persuasion that just weren't right, and I knew it was racism. Okay, that's what I was trying to tell those blockheads on that show. We did the blockheads that weren't listening. Okay, who think that being we have to have more skills than just driving a damn car. Okay, being an Uber driver does not make you a businessman, because you're going to put wear and tear on your car, and when your car is not working, you're out of business. Okay, and Uber doesn't give a damn. So we gotta think about how to recognize our schools. We got to start thinking about how can we send our athletes to our schools. Okay, so that we can stop some of these coon black presidents can stop cooning for Donald Trump, trying to get money out of him, and then in the end they get no money, nothing. They just get used as a photo op, which is what happened to them. So let me, Brother Hank, I agree with you, brother. You said Florida A&M. Yeah, Florida A&M. They have a great business school at that university. Great. I think it's FAMU. That's right. I went to Howard and Boise State. Hank's, okay, Brother Hank, that's cool. Brother Deduvian, thank you for being here, brother. But Brother Hank went to Howard. Howard is a good school, too. That's in D.C. I've been to Howard before. That's a good school. Let's see here. What else do we got going on here? Aaron Collins, brother Aaron Collins. Okay. Everybody in the chat room, I want to thank you for being with us tonight. It's a database of Black-owned, African-centered schools, a database. Okay. Thank you for that information. Wonderful. Let me give you some respect here. Brother Collins, how was your day, brother? I mean, I know we talked earlier today, brother. I'm glad that you were out there listening to the show. I was trying to send you a link to the show by sending you a personal message through YouTube. I hope that you got that. Is that how you got it, or did you just use your alert on your phone?
Yeah, I got it on YouTube.
Okay, that's cool. And it worked.
No, to get on the chat, I got the Google Hangout.
Yeah, that's good, brother.
But they went pretty well though. Can't complain. For the most part, I stayed in pretty much for the most of the day.
Let me tell everybody on Friday around the same time, I'm gonna have Marlo's Corner on. We're gonna talk boxing. We're gonna talk social issues as well. He's gonna bring the whole crew with him. So we're gonna have a whole crew of brothers from the boxing realm of YouTube coming over on Friday. And then on Sunday, I got a surprise for you. I'm gonna keep it under wraps. I'll make the announcement Saturday, but I've got a brother coming on Sunday who's definitely gonna be dynamic. Oh yes. Oh yes. Matter of fact, let me show you guys something. If you guys are wondering where did I get this soundbite from, this is his voice. I talked to him and I realized this is his voice. This is the voice that you will be hearing come Sunday. Listen up, everybody.
Jackleg preachers.
That's right.
Jackleg preachers.
This is the brother that you're going to hear live in effect come Sunday. The soundbite that I'm using. He's got a great YouTube channel, and the brother is involved in music. He's into promoting independent music, looking at independent artists, black artists. He's very Afrocentric. He's about that business. He's not about no cooning and all that kind of stuff. And he's going to tell it to you real. And some of you, when I put the description of his name out and everything, some of you are going to realize, oh shit, I know who that brother is. That brother's real deep. Oh yeah. He's coming on Sunday. So I will be doing a live stream Sunday. It will be in the morning time because he's in Ohio. And I'll probably come on about 10 or 11. It'll be a couple more hours his time, and we're going to do a program together, live stream. It's going to be dynamic. I'm going to interview this brother. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to like what this brother's about. He's not a compromising brother at all. At all. He's fantastic, and we're going to make it do what it do. Aaron Collins, you got anything you want to say, brother, before I put a crescendo on tonight?
You know, man, just gotta just keep on with the keep on, you know, keep doing what we do.
Say keep on with the keep on. I love that.
Just doing what we do, and just want to make sure that
well, brother, we're gonna put a crescendo. I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. Thank everybody in the chat room. Let me go right back over there. Chat room here. Let me see this right here. Boom. Let me go back in there and thank everybody. I want to thank everybody that's been with us tonight. Marlo's Corner, what's up, brother? We're gonna do our thing on Friday, right? Peace, chat room. Peace to everybody in the chat room. Brother Hanks. Let me see. Sunny Seas. Everybody that was in the chat room, Brother Dubian. Let me see who else was in the chat room tonight. We had Kate, we got Cap in the chat room. Thanks a lot, Cap, for being here tonight, brother. Exposing fake pro-blacks. Real talk. Thank you, brother. Macom just came in. Thank you for being here. I know it's late for some people. Some people probably have left because they probably got to get a little bit of rest. Ahmad, thank you for being here. Let's see, Nini Cruncher.
You know, it ain't too late for us folks out here in Cali.
I know it isn't. Thank you, sister, for being with us. And make sure you subscribe to the show. Hit the bell for notification if you're new to the program. Let me see. I gotta say thank you for somebody that said a great statement inside there. I'm gonna say thank you to them manually. I thought I put it out there. Boom. And let me put a thank you to this young lady here. Thank you. Thank you. I know a lot of people were listening to Keith Newsom tonight go over the Art Kelly situation. That man is got serious problems.
What did he do this time again? I forget. Or was that thing with the girl or his wife or something?
There's a young lady that came out and said that he's gay, that he was telling her to do stuff to him with dildos, that he was he's into the whole sexual slave thing. He's a sick man. I submit that we should stop listening to his music. Anyway, let's see. Refuse to believe that these millionaires can't afford to lose 1 day of pay, and a day's pay is a small price to pay to show that you're a man, not a slave. You know, Brenda Johnson, I thank you for that statement. I appreciate that statement because that's a statement of real talk. So thank you for that statement. That's a statement that I probably missed early on in the show. Let me see. Big L, I want to thank you, brother. You've been tremendous. Ahmad, you've been tremendous. Brenda Johnson's been tremendous. Kendra has been tremendous. She's giving a shout out to you, Real Aaron Collins. Let me see. Ford 31, he was the first two-time $100 million contract. Yeah, that's right. That was my man, Michael Vick. That's right. Anybody that's in the chat room, if you're new to the chat room, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you hit the bell for notification.
Hit the like button, too, before you leave the chat.
Yeah, definitely. And make sure that you share. Yeah, hit the like button. Thank you, Real Aaron Collins. Thank you for that, brother. Make sure that you share the video in your social media. If you any of you that have a group like sports and you have social media groups where they talk about sports, drop this in there. Drop this in there. We didn't just we talked about sports, but we didn't just make it about the common variety of sports talk. We really got into some social issues related to sports. So it's very
Speaking of sports. I got, here's a question, and this question just came to mind.
Yes.
But do you think black people will be dominant in NASCAR? I know that's a historically and predominantly white sport. Do you think there will ever be any black NASCAR drivers?
We have had black racers before in the past that were great. We just haven't had anybody recently. I think there's a young brother that drives in Fortune, what do you call that? Formula 100, where they have those real powerful cars.
Yeah.
There's a brother that drives in there. We don't have anybody that I know right now that's doing the box cart stuff, but maybe someday we will have someone. I think the problem is you got to look at regions. Black people, for whatever reason, we gravitate towards basketball and football because that's what we see on TV more than anything else. That's what we see other black athletes doing, so we want to jump on that. I think you need to have more black men as of right now driving in NASCAR so that young black males and women see those images. Unfortunately, we don't see those images. We only see the basketball players. So everybody's following LeBron James. Everyone's loving LeBron James and what have you. And we're failing to understand the importance of other sports and our contribution to these other sports.
I'll put it to you this way. If they did have us in NASCAR, it would most likely either be someone light-skinned or a tragic mulatto.
Well, I don't know, brother.
They ain't trying to have nothing too melanated in NASCAR, except if you change the tires or go greasing it or something like that.
Yeah, but they've had black men, dark skin, whatever, that have raced. I just think it has to do with access to. Look, you gotta realize something. Let's realize something right now. NASCAR is a sport. You gotta have money, man. You gotta have a team backing you up. It costs money. Those cars cost money. Gasoline costs money. You have to have a team behind you. Think about it. If you're a young child growing up in the hood, what's the cheapest sport to play? Basketball. All you need is a damn ball. You ain't gotta get a helmet. You gotta get no pads. Basketball. What are the easiest sports to play? Is basketball, football, because those are the sports that are gravitating in the urban environment. Now, if you have a kid that wants to be a driver in NASCAR, he's got to be in an environment where there's NASCAR at. And let's just be honest. You have a lot of black people who live in urban environments, not just southern environments, and they're not exposed to NASCAR. And somebody in Los Angeles, they're going to be exposed to basketball, football. In the South, you have a better chance of being exposed to NASCAR. But you said it. NASCAR is not diverse. It doesn't have doesn't have black people around in it. So if you're a kid growing up and you don't see anybody that looks like you in the sport and nobody that's running the sport that looks like you, you're not going to gravitate towards it. I think it's a social thing. It's just not been something that black people really enjoy. I mean, how many of us did you see us at the Daytona 500? You don't see a lot of black folks at these kind of events. It's just not our thing. We've had brothers that were car drivers in the past, but the tradition hasn't been continued. And to be quite honest with you, brother, I don't find anything fascinating about seeing cars going around and around and around. It's boring to me.
Right.
And
now, one thing about brothers, one thing I will say, I love how we like, and brothers, we take old school cars and fix them up and all that.
Wow. Let me read something that this brother in here put. Say, go to the David Duke's website. He wrote an article calling Russia the great white nation. Interesting. The white American love Russia for them, their white majority nation. And Russian rules over the nation via Russia Orthodox Church and secret police. Yeah, you know. The Frank, the usual suspects always stick together. That's just the bottom line. So peace said, all right, everybody. So I'm gonna end the live stream. I want to thank everybody for being with me, making your comments in the chat room. I love you all. Remember, Friday night I'll be on with Marlo's Corner. We'll come on between 8:30 and 9. I'll do a reminder video like I did today to let you know what the deal is. Marlo Corner, can you let me know before I leave, brother? Have you had any contact with some of the other brothers? Please put in the chat room if you have. What's the status, brother? Before we leave, I want to know what the status is. I'm going to play a little bit of music here. Let me go over to my speaker and end that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Brother Information Man Show on speaker.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you to everybody in the chat room and speaker. I hope you catch my program again very soon. And this has been a beautiful experience having you with me tonight. And I want to thank you because information is power. And thank you. Okay, that's been ended. The radio portion of the program has been ended. Let me go back into the YouTube portion. And Marlo's Corner says, yes, we're all good. All right, Marlo's Corner. So let's see, brother. Let's go for 8:30. Like tonight, I did an 8:30 show. Let's go for 8:30 time, Friday night. So I'm gonna set it all up. Start putting that together. Everybody be with us Friday night. 8:30 same time. I know some of you will be coming over from Keith Newsom's program. He does those late night programs as well. So come on over. Peace, family. Peace to everybody. I want to thank Brother Aaron Collins for being with me tonight. I want to thank True Royal Family for her comments. Brenda Johnson, everybody in the chat room, Marlo's Corner, just everybody out there who may be listening to this later on the repeat. Thank you. I'm about to play the ending music for a little while you all give your last goodbyes and talk to each other over the beautiful sounds. And I want to thank my man Quest COG for putting it down for me on this masterpiece. I want to thank that brother for what he did.
Info, whatever you want to know, come join. It's the info. It's the Mount the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. It's the Mount the info.
Thanks a lot, real Aaron Collins.
Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info, man. You can call them information info, man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. Win, lose, or draw. You can bring your hate team, but if you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. You talk to Japanese shogun. Aztecs, Olmecs, and African Dogon. It's the info. It's the Mount the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. It's the Mount the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. We got the info.
I want to thank everybody out there for listening tonight. I can't wait to hook up with Marlo's Corner on Friday. It's going to be a hot program. Real Aaron Collins, you got any last words to say, brother?
Yeah, I see you over there bopping over the track.
It's a hot track, brother. It's a hot track. You got any last words, brother?
It makes music videos.
Yeah, he do, brother. He needs to focus. He needs to get deep. He needs to continue working on his craft and start getting some videos out. He's very creative, brother.
Yeah, he is.
Very creative.
I hear myself echoing.
Yeah, let me put this down. I hope that he's doing well wherever he is, because the brother has got talent, and the talent is harnessed in a constructive, positive way, and he needs to be in some production studio, and he needs to be making some money in his pocket.
And I just thought of that too, what you said. No, the one thing we either in the hood, we either find basketball or we got rappers.
Yeah, we got a lot of that.
We got plenty of rappers in the hood, though. I mean, but you know what, though? Can't really knock these cats, though. I mean, that's what they got to work with.
That's true.
So, I used to be a little bit irritated about that, but then I think about it. Well, man, maybe those are the only options that we're offered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, brother, those are options that were offered, but we can do a lot more than just that. I think black people are the most multi-dimensional people on this planet because we are from this planet. We're very, very, there's no one as unique as we are. Anything we put our minds to, we can do successfully. So with that said, brother, we're going to end this stream and we're going to enjoy some more of Brother COG's masterpiece.
The Mount the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. It's the Mount the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. It's the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Mount the info show. It's the info, man. You can call
Hey, info man.
It's the Melted Info. Whatever you want to know, come join the Melted.
What's up, man?
So you know what else is what other sports are pretty racist? Wrestling is said to be racist.
All of
like,
it.
I know people.
All of it has some roots in it. You know that, and you know.
I know people look at this as fake, but I've heard some stories about some of these wrestlers in WWE pretty racist. Ric Flair is a known racist.
Yeah, I never was a big fan of wrestling. I always thought that it was just buffoonery.
Yeah.
I always thought it was buffoonery, brother. All right, folks. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
It's the info. It's the Melted Info.
All right, we're going to end this.
Whatever you want to know, come